All right, about 20 seconds. We'll see if anyone else joins here. I'll admit anyone that still comes in. I just want to make sure everyone gets all the information that that they need. I see some of you are hiding out here. You don't want to be seen on camera. Hey, quite a few of you. Oh, there we go. Yeah. We got people from all over the country here. I like to see this. It's all good. All right, so we'll commence here, and then, like I say, if anyone else joins in, we will of course admit them, and then hopefully catch up if they have any questions or anything. I'd like to let you know we'd like to wait until the end for any questions and so on. So if you guys got a pen or in your phone or laptop or whatever, if you just write down a couple of questions or whatever, if you have any along the way as we go through the presentation, it'd be much appreciated that we wait till the end for the questions, and then we can answer them all for everyone in the webinar. I think we're up to 13 participants out of 27 right now, so that's actually not so bad as far as I'm concerned. My name is James Watson. I'm the CEO and founder of Got Mold. Got Mold is passionate about healthy indoor air, and we have a mission to find and fix sources of unhealthy indoor air. And we've set up this program to help out with Indigenous communities who are working through challenges with any air quality issues and health concerns throughout. So the presentation, the webinar, is about mold and air quality testing, as well as remediation strategies. It's a program that is a mobile workshop that comes right into your community. So there's no need to have to bus people into the city or get all set up. As long as you have a facility with Wi-Fi where we can set up our 55-inch screen, we'll be able to do all of the training right there in your community. So we would definitely like to give some acknowledgement to the communities that we have served so far to date. We're very proud of the individuals that have jumped in on the training, and we've had a lot of success in the program, and we want to see more successes in your communities in the very near future, of course. We know that homes on remote First Nations are moldy before they're even built. A lot of experts will say it's a national disgrace. Mold leaves children with respiratory issues in remote First Nations communities. Widespread mold causes health disaster in remote First Nations. This is all in the news, stuff that has all been released over the last few years. So we know that there's individuals struggling out there, and we want to do everything we can in order to get in and empower individuals in your community to be able to do the work on their own, so that we're not in a situation where you're always calling us in for costly work to come into remote locations. And of course, after the training and so on, we're still there to support. We have a project management component to the business where we know that some First Nations struggle with the project management aspect of everything. So we would come in and we would do the management of the project and make sure that everything happens correctly right from start to finish. I must be on the wrong webinar here.
Yeah.
If you guys can just give me a couple of seconds here, I just want to make sure that I get the right file, because we've made some great updates and it's not looking like we're in the right one.
I'll go and look at it again.
Updated 11/20. There we go. Okay. My apologies, everyone. We're gonna go back to here and we're gonna view the slideshow. We'll just so our acknowledgements, we want to say thank you to Treaty 4, Treaty 6, and Treaty 8 territories. So far we've served Montreal Lake, Little Red River, Sask. We put Sask because we know there's a Little Red River, Alberta as well, and we didn't want any confusion in the mix. Smith's Landing First Nation, actually in Alberta, but right 3 minutes away from the Northwest Territories, where we had to travel for 3.5, 4 hours through the Northwest Territories to get back into Alberta. It was an interesting little adventure. And Fort Chipewyan, I see it's spelt incorrectly. That's my bad. And Touchwood Agency Tribal Council, so the TATC. We trained individuals from Daystar First Nation, George Gordon's First Nation, Kawakatoos First Nation, and Muskowhegan First Nation. And I had a blast doing it along with my colleagues, that is for sure. It's been a lot of fun. So here in the TATC training here in Saskatchewan, we ended up taking the training program to the next level, which is exactly what we were looking for with this program, where we actually were able to remediate a large-scale mold remediation within the school that the Touchwood Agency Tribal Council owns, and they are using for a training facility. So phase 1 had been done a couple of years ago before we got involved, which was a large portion of the school that they ended up renovating to have for their training facility. And then, of course, the second phase, which was the gymnasium and the washrooms and a lengthy hallway and a couple other areas that were completely inundated with mold due to the building being vacant for several years. The roof was leaking. And so, of course, humidity caused basically a tropical rainstorm within the built environment. And we were brought in rather than hiring us as a vendor to come in and take all the dollars out of the community. What we did was we came in and we trained the students. We got the students a really good knowledge in class and then while doing inspections. And then once that was all done and the 1 week of training was over, then we continued on with a full 6 weeks of remediation and asbestos abatement within the school that needed to be done, of course, in order to make sure that it was a healthy environment and that we met our mission of finding and fixing sources of unhealthy indoor air. So we went through that slide. So we know there are health impacts that are out there, no matter what, if it's First Nations community or urban community, whatever it be. Mold and poor air quality affect the health of community members, especially those suffering long-term effects from COVID infections, which we all know that there's a few of those out there, unfortunately. Individuals with compromised immunity or chronic conditions. Infants and small children, and elders. So typically mold is known to affect the young, the elderly, the immune compromised, and individuals that are, of course, women that are pregnant and the unborn baby, due to the amount of exchange of breaths that the young need. Of course, they inhale more spores than anyone else that does. So those are some conditions. We've run into all sorts of things. We work with a handful of doctors throughout Alberta, where they do patient referrals to us, and we go out and we do assessments so that we can determine and find and fix what the problems are within the built environment. And a lot of them are so severe that they have cognitive disorders related to the mold. And they know that once removed from those conditions, those health effects, of course, start to minimize quite rapidly. We know that air quality problems aren't just about mold. Of course, mold impacts both our health and the structure of the building, because mold will, as long as there's moisture, mold will grow. I like to say where dry desert ends, mold will grow. So we're always worried about the impact, not only of the health, but the building structure, because the mold will continue to eat away at any building material that is cellulosic in any shape or form until it has nothing left to eat. So it can destroy anything structural as well within the built environment. And radon, I'm not sure how many of you are well versed in radon. Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer, and it's present in quantities in many parts of Canada. I know there's a lot of hotspots in Saskatchewan. They say that 1/3 of every home tested within Saskatchewan is affected by high concentrations of radon. And unfortunately, radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer, right behind cigarette smoking. And if you're a cigarette smoker and you have high levels of radon in the built environment, it's a double whammy, and you have that much more of a concern of getting lung cancer. So a lot of you have probably heard before, I can't believe that person got lung cancer. They never smoked. They weren't around cigarette smoke their whole life, or very rarely, whatever it be. Chances are there may have been a radon contamination within the built environment. So we give a course on the radon within this training materials that we do as well, so that we can educate individuals on radon testing and radon mitigation. And both radon testing and mitigation is rather inexpensive. And we've put together the training program so that the funding can be available as a training aspect, as opposed to having to go for operations and maintenance funding and so on and so forth. As well as we could lead on and play into some other programs that we've been developing lately, where we know that because there is no operations and maintenance funding in most communities for the housing, we're setting up the training programs so that we can go into the homes and we can do training of how to keep your furnace area clean, and how often to change your filters, and so on and so forth. And that will include a cleaning of the furnace. So it goes in as training dollars, as opposed to having to go and fight to get funding to get the furnaces cleaned. In Fort Smith, in Smith's Landing, they ended up having every single one of their houses on the reserve all fully done by a professional furnace and duct cleaner, and it was all covered by training dollars. And then asbestos. So asbestos is present in over 3,000 building materials, present in all building in more than 3,000 building materials that were built prior to 1990. And a lot of stuff that people don't even know and understand, from low risk VAT tiles all the way to high risk sheet flooring of linoleum in homes, drywall, mud compounds, ceiling textures. The list goes on, and it's a very scary situation. All the workers' compensation boards, WorkSafe Sask, WorkSafe Alberta, WorkSafe BC, they've all done their research, and they're all stating the exact same data, and that is that asbestos kills more workers yearly than any other workplace incident. So asbestos kills more people than vehicular accidents in the workplace do, which is a very high number. And we know that there in the First Nations communities, and especially up far northern communities and so on, secluded areas, there's limited resources. So we know that good contractors are difficult to find. We know that lots of them are unwilling to travel to the smaller centers and communities that they need to get into. And a lot of times they end up being unreliable. Just out at the TATC here in Saskatchewan, 2 weeks prior to us going out and doing the actual training for the mold, asbestos, and radon awareness and remediation strategies, they had another instructor come in and teach a handful of individuals how to clean up mold with just a simple little dust mask on their face, and not protected, no containment set up. It was a very sad situation. And once those students came in and started learning the true facts about mold and how mold remediation and asbestos abatement is to really be done, they were quite frustrated with the fact that they had gotten a lack of training in the last program. So we're very happy that we were able to get out there and show those individuals what it's all about. And then, of course, there's questionable quality when you're hiring individuals from out of province or out of the community, whatever it be. So that questionable quality, we make sure that we're not in any position at all. And we want to, like I said from the beginning, empower all the individuals that we can in the community to understand how to properly address these concerns on their own, so they don't have to pay for costly remediations or have any individuals come in that aren't doing a proper job. We've set the program up so there's also career opportunities for anyone that wants to leave the community to go into the workforce. We know that many restoration companies, mold remediation, asbestos abatement companies, we're all suffering right now because we have very, very much difficulty in trying to find qualified, trained individuals to come and join to join our team. And so what we've done is we've set it up so that we can do testing and remediation projects, not only in your own and nearby communities. We have all the equipment available for purchase, kits set up so that we can have, we just say, it's basically a business in a box is what we can hand over to you. And then you can build economy right within your own community where you have the tools. You're fully empowered to be able to be knowledgeable, understand how to do the remediations and abatement, have all the equipment, all the testing materials. So any homes or offices, any lands, buildings, anything that needs to be assessed, you can just have the individuals that were trained within your own community do that work for you. And then you can take that off reserve out of your own community and go do it in other communities or urban centers, whatever you decide to do. And like I said earlier, for those of you that have just joined and missed out on a little bit of the presentation here, we also provide project management for the individuals that we've trained that we know that some communities struggle with that project management component. And in order to make sure that everything gets done properly and effectively, we can be there to do the project management for you until, of course, there's a project manager in place from the community that's fully trained and understands what needs to be done. And it's not a 2-week or a 3-week deal where someone would just be ready to be thrown into hot water. Of course, we want to make sure mentor and nurture everyone as we can as we go along. So the first steps in resolving the mold issues in your community lie within this program as far as we're concerned, because of the fact that we, of course, will empower individuals to know what needs to be done. So here's 3 individuals that 3 of the 8, actually, we hired 6 full-time individuals and 2 part-time individuals from our last program from TATC. We have Chris Crow Buffalo, Michael Assoon, and Clark Assoon, who have joined our team and have done multiple projects for us now with Got Mold, small to large scale remediations and abatements. So they're fully asbestos certified now. They're fully trained in mold and the hazards of it and how to remediate it. And they've decided that they want to come out and work off the community for now as much as possible. And now part of the biggest success story of the whole program, starting this Friday and then the following Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Treaty 4 territory, the 4 communities in Treaty 4 have actually brought us in to continue the training program on all the daycares and the schools within the communities. Of course, they're trying to look after the young right away because they know that they're some of the most susceptible individuals. So what we're doing is we're taking participants that we've already trained and are already employed with us, and we're going to go out and we're going to do the assessments on the reserves in the communities along with the students. And then we'll be writing very detailed reports and providing all the supporting documentation that is required in order for the TATC to go and get the funding that's required, whether that be from CMHC or that be from ISC or whoever is there available, or maybe they have the money available and ready to go in that aspect. And then what we'll do is we'll take the workers from the community and they'll be able to work right on their own land. We won't have to deduct any taxes off of their checks or anything like that. And it keeps the money in the community as opposed to, you know, sending it out to us. Of course, we gotta get paid to do the project management and for the supplies, materials, and consumables that we use on site and the equipment rental and everything else. But then again, down the way, the communities can purchase the equipment to do the work on their own and then no longer have to pay us rent to do that. So some really great things. So these are 3 of the 8 guys that we've hired. These guys are 3 are full time. And so here's how the training works. Step 1 will be 3 to 5 days right within the community. And that includes classroom and hands-on training. So we'll do testing within the training costs that we put forth right from the beginning. Testing and assessments of 2 community buildings is included within that. So if you choose 2 of the worst homes or one of the not bad homes that you don't know if there's a problem or not, and one that has a problem, or band office or any lands buildings, we can go out with the students and actually assess those buildings. And then once we've assessed those buildings, we create the reports and provide and give all the test results from the sampling and so on that was done. And then that way you have all the supporting documentation that you require in order to go for the funding. So step 2 would be the test results. So anything that we test for mold or for asbestos or lead paint, we test for lead as well. We'll receive the bulk surface and air quality test results from a third-party independent lab throughout those 2 community buildings. And then the visual inspection and test results are used to develop that remediation strategy. So that remediation strategy then comes out, and it's as clear in layman's terms as we can possibly make it, in a nice detailed report with photos, where the samples were taken, why the samples were taken, and what the results of those samples were, so that you can have a good understanding of what really needs to be done. And then when those reports are sent off to ISC or to CMHC, so far, none of the communities that we've worked in have been denied any of the funding. The money has been there for the training and remediation of these buildings. So it has been a really great success. And then of course, step 3, we would return to remediate. And when I say we would return to remediate, we're looking forward to being the actual project management team as opposed to doing the full-on job with our own staff. However, the cool thing is that what we've been doing is we've been putting the quotes for the scope of work within the remediation strategy. We've been putting that out to the communities based on if we were traveling to all of our own employees, all the costs for meals, accommodations, and absolutely everything is added up within the quote. And then that supporting documentation can be sent off for funding if funding is required. And then from there, if we're just the project management team and we use individuals from the community to do the work, then it ends up that the community ends up with some leftover funds to carry over into the next program if they need to, or into the next building that needs to be remediated. So we're keeping the money in the community as much as we possibly can. If you choose to have us manage the remediation, we'll return, guide the students through fixing the issues that were found, of course, right? It's in our mission. We want to find and fix those sources of unhealthy indoor air. And of course, the trainees will be part of the remediation crew. I'll give a little bit of a tidbit back on when we were in Smith's Landing. What had happened, we assessed 4 buildings. 3 of the buildings had some concerns. 2 of them were minor to moderate concerns. And one of them was a large scale project in the band office crawl space that was completely unknown to them. And they were wondering why health concerns were happening and so on. And so we were hired to do the full remediation with our own staff, just because they didn't have workers to be able to accommodate for us to manage it. But of course, when there's workers there that are trained and ready to go and willing to work, we want to have them doing the work and pay them a fair wage, as opposed to us walking away with all the money. And then step 4 would be, of course, testing assessments and strategies in other buildings. So every one of the programs that we have ran so far in Treaty 4, Treaty 6, and Treaty 8 territories, they have all have had us stay for a second, third, all the way up to 7.5 weeks with the TATC, and now still continuing with going on and doing the daycares and the schools and the Head Starts within all 4 communities. So that can happen in your communities as well. All you have to do is push the button and say, please stay and continue training us. And I will make it as absolutely fun and interactive as I possibly can for the students, so they're not just bored, sitting there yawning and falling asleep, thinking, oh, great, another training course that's not going to go anywhere. That's not what we're all about. And then we can provide support to the trainees for conducting assessments and testing to other buildings in the community. And we have the equipment available to be able for the band to be able to purchase, so that you no longer have to pay a whole costly amount for professional inspections, mileage and accommodations and meals and all kinds of travel costs and whatever else that are there. And then we would still be able to use our professional accredited labs to analyze the tests that were taken by the individuals in the community, and then help the individuals that are doing the assessments to write the reports, make sure that they're all in place and ready to go out for to be sent in for funding and quoted out and so on and so forth. So typically the training will include up to 10 people. We have taken on more than 10 people in TATC, just because there was an overwhelming response once the students started posting on Facebook how much fun they were having in the training. It got up to 17 students at one time. It was mind-boggling. I don't have a problem training that many people. The only struggles that we had was when it gets into doing the inspections. Of course, if we're inspecting a house or a smaller building in the community, taking 12 people or 14 people into someone's house, it's not going to work out. That's just not a very good way to go about it. We are currently scheduling now for next sessions starting about mid-December, and then we have availabilities in January, February as well. And we know that funding is available for training and renovations right now, especially related to mold concerns. So if funding is required, you can contact CMHC, ISC, or other funding mechanisms with the reports that are written by the students and myself, of course, reviewed by me, and we make sure that everything is all in order. And then you have all that supporting documentation to get the proper funding. So a couple of the students that we, had said, hey, we're more than happy to write some good stuff about the training. Sherry had written, I took the got mold training that came to Montreal Lake. It was something new. I enjoyed it. I went into it with an open mind, and by the end of the training, I was intrigued. The instructor, James Watson, is very informed. Yeah, you see my head get fat there? Very informative and a great instructor. I look forward to working with Got Mold in the future. And right now, we're actually just waiting for Montreal Lake to push the button on some of the remediation work that needs to be done in that community, and we hope that they'll move forward with it. Harvey Bitternose, he's the PES manager of the TATC. It's a rather long write-up, but he just lets everyone know that he was very happy with everything, and he'd like to thank me again. There goes my head growing even fatter, and our staff, of course. So I had what we've been doing is promoting as much of this program as we can online. So we're showing, everything on our social media channels and what kind of fun we're having with the individuals. This is Chris Crow Buffalo. Chris got his white man name actually throughout the program and into hiring with us. We call him Crisscross Applesauce, the native version. And then this is Travis McNabb, otherwise known as Richard McNabb. His cookum gave him the name Travis, and that's what he's stuck with ever since. But his legal name is Richard, and he's working full time with us in both our Saskatoon and Regina operations. And we look forward to the future with this guy.